Hey astronauts, it's time for our last lesson for astronomy. Today we're going to talk about our solar system again for part 2. Remember, we learned about 4 planets yesterday. Today we're going to learn about the other 4. Now yesterday we talked about Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, and we called them the inner planets. Why do we call them the inner planets? It's because they're the closest to the sun. So we know that there are 8 major planets that we talk about being close. So the 4 that we're going to talk about today are the outer planets, okay? So why do you think they're called the outer planets? Maybe because they're far away from the sun? Maybe. So I want you to listen carefully today so we can learn the names of the planets and what makes each one unique, okay? So let's go over our vocabulary. Here we go. Solar system part 2. Oh, I went too far. Look at that. Categorize, sort, or put into a group with other similar objects. My teacher asked me to categorize this stack of books as fiction and nonfiction. Debris, the pieces left over when something is destroyed or broken. When I dropped my plate of food, I had to clean up the mess while my dad swept up the debris from the broken plate. Outer, far from the center, the outside of something. The outer part of the Earth's surface is the part we live on. So remember, we had the inner core and the outer core. Probes, tools designed to collect information in outer space and send it back to Earth. Probes have collected a lot of information about the surface of Mars. Violent, dangerously rough. When I was wrestling with my brother and he got hurt, my mom said we were being too violent. Okay, friends, let's get started. Remember, yesterday when we talked, here's our sun and here's our 4 planets. Here is Mercury. There's its orbital path. Venus, Earth, goes all the way around like this, and this one is Mars. Okay, so today we're going to talk about this one, this one, this one, and this one. In the last read aloud, you learned about the 4 inner planets of our solar system: Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. Now you will learn about the outer planets: Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, as well as the famous dwarf planet, Pluto. All right, these planets are furthest from the sun on the outside part of our solar system. Now, yesterday I told you we talked more about Pluto, and I wasn't wrong. We're going to talk more about it today. The first important difference between the inner planets and the outer planets is that the inner planets are all made up of rocks and metals, whereas the outer planets are made up of different types of gases. That's a good thing to know. The planet Jupiter is the 5th planet from the sun. In Roman mythology, Jupiter was the king of the gods, the strongest and most powerful of all. The largest planet in our solar system is named after him. So being the largest planet makes Jupiter unique. Jupiter is so big that you could stuff about 1,300 planet Earths inside of it. Remember, we could take 1,000,000 Earths to fit inside of our sun. We take 1,300 to fit inside of Jupiter. Whoa, it's pretty big. It takes Jupiter nearly 12 Earth years to make one revolution around the sun. However, Jupiter rotates on its axis faster than any other planet in the solar system. This massive planet rotates all the way around on its axis in less than 10 hours. Jupiter is made mostly of hydrogen and other gases. Because of its fast rotation and the mixing of its gases, Jupiter is an extremely violent or dangerously rough, stormy place. Okay, so let's go back for a second. It takes us 24 hours to spin on our axis, but it takes Jupiter only 10 hours to spin on its axis. So a day on Jupiter, a day and night on Jupiter is only 10 hours. But for us, a day and night on Earth is 24 hours. The best known feature on Jupiter is its large red spot. See it right there? This spot is actually a massive storm. So this stormy red spot makes Jupiter unique, and it helps us remember what the planet looks like. The storm is so big that you could fit 3 planet Earths inside of it. Jupiter can be seen with the naked eye from Earth, and sometimes you can see its red spot with an ordinary telescope. So it's so big that we could put 3 planet Earths on here. That's a storm, guys. Would you want to be in that storm? No, thank you. There are at least 63 moons in orbit around Jupiter. Okay, so how many moons do we have on Earth? Just one. We have only one moon. But Jupiter has 63 moons going around it. That's a lot of moons. Most of them are very small. However, 4 of these moons are well known. They were all discovered first by the famous astronomer Galileo. These are easily visible with a pair of binoculars. Each is interesting in its own way, particularly I can't say this, I'm going to try. Europa, the small one in the upper right. So this is Europa. Kind of looks like a little pearl, doesn't it? Europa is slightly smaller than our own moon, and yet, for many astronomers, it's one of the most fascinating celestial bodies in the solar system. Europa's surface is covered in ice, and its atmosphere contains a lot of oxygen. Many astronomers believe that beneath Europa's ice, there's an ocean of liquid water. This means that maybe, just maybe, there is some form of life on this distant little moon. So far, the only place in the solar system that we know has life is our own planet Earth. So, and the reason they think maybe, just maybe, there's a teeny tiny chance there might be life is because there's oxygen and possibly water since it's ice. Interesting. Where was I? The next planet in the solar system is Saturn. This 6th planet from the Sun. It is the 2nd largest planet in the solar system, although it is much smaller than Jupiter. Saturn is famous for its rings. It's not the only planet with rings, but no other planet has rings like Saturn's. So the rings make Saturn unique and easy to recognize. This incredible photo was taken by an unmanned orbiter in 2004. That was way before you all were born. That was 17 years ago, guys. Saturn has several layers with different types of clouds, and it is quite stormy, though not as stormy as its neighbor, Jupiter. So these layers and clouds are part of the planet. Remember, outer planets are made up of gases. What were inner planets made up of? Rocks and metal? Yeah. All right. Because it is so far from the sun, it takes Saturn nearly 30 Earth years to make one orbit complete. Different parts of Saturn rotate at different speeds, but for the most part, Saturn rotates on its axis very quickly, taking a little over 10 hours to complete rotation. Hey, so like Jupiter, their one day and night is about just a little bit more than 10 hours. Remember, ours was 24. But this one takes 30 Earth years to go around the sun. So 1 year on Saturn is 30 years on Earth. Guys, you aren't 30 yet. So that means Saturn hasn't even gone around one time. In my lifetime, it's gone around one time in some more years. So that's a long time. The rings of Saturn are always moving around the planet. They are made up mainly of ice and a few other types of materials. The rings are basically huge collections of dust with some larger chunks here and there. Nobody is sure how the rings got there. Some astronomers believe the rings formed when one of Saturn's moons exploded and the debris or broken pieces became trapped in orbit. Others say the material in the rings is left over from the time when Saturn was formed billions of years ago. You can see Saturn from Earth during certain times of the year, and with an ordinary telescope, you can see the rings. I think my dog's getting a little excited about this, guys. You hear him? The seventh planet, Uranus, has the coldest atmosphere of any planet in the solar system. Its atmosphere, its cold atmosphere makes Uranus unique. Because it is so far from the sun, it takes Uranus 84 Earth years to make one complete orbit. It hasn't even gone around the sun one time in my lifetime. It's gone around the sun one time. Let's see, my grandpa is he's 87, 88. And so it's gone around one time in his lifetime. That's crazy. Where was I? Uranus is made of hydrogen, but its atmosphere also contains a lot of ice and other substances not found on Jupiter or Saturn. Uranus is named after a Greek god of the sky, making it the only planet other than Earth that is not named after a Roman god. Although it is possible to see Uranus from Earth with the naked eye, you really have to know where and when to look for it because it appears very dim or not very bright from here on Earth. Uranus has one very special characteristic. It rotates on its side. You can't see it in this image, but in comparison to Earth and the other planets, Uranus's axis is sideways, as though someone turned the planet on its side. So lying on its side also makes Uranus unique. The planet Neptune is the eighth and final major planet in the solar system. In Roman mythology, Neptune was the god of the sea. So this is a fitting name given the planet's beautiful blue color. Its blue color and its distance from the sun make Neptune unique. What was the red planet you heard about yesterday? Mars. It was Mars. Astronomers still do not know exactly why Neptune is blue, and it will probably be a while before they figure it out. That is because Neptune is nearly 3 billion, I said billion with a B, miles from the sun, making it very difficult and expensive to send unmanned probes to explore it. Remember, probes are tools designed to collect information in outer space and send it back to Earth. But because Neptune is so far away, we don't have the technology to send one there yet. It takes Neptune nearly 165 Earth years to orbit the sun. Guys, I will never see Neptune orbit the sun in my lifetime. That's way long. The planet is nearly visible to the naked eye from Earth, and you will need a fairly powerful, or never visible to the naked eye from Earth, and you will need a fairly powerful telescope to get a good view of its beautiful color. Okay, friends, this little planet, if you ask your adult to name the planets in the solar system, they will probably always tell you Pluto. But it's no longer one of our major planets. Let's keep reading. Not so very long ago, students in school were taught that there were 9 planets in the solar system, including Pluto. In fact, ever since Pluto was discovered in 1930, it has been considered a planet. However, in 2006, 15 years ago, astronomers decided to categorize Pluto as a dwarf planet, one of several such bodies in our solar system. Okay, they decided to sort planets into 2 groups. Dwarf, meaning little, and regular. Categorizing Pluto as a dwarf planet means that they put Pluto in the dwarf planet group. So it's a tiny planet and it's normal. All right, here we go. In Roman mythology, Pluto was the god of the underworld, a dark and dreary place. This is a good name for such a cold and distant dwarf planet. Pluto is about 4 billion miles from the sun. So it is extremely cold and dark out there. The planet is made almost entirely of frozen nitrogen. Nitrogen is a type of gas. It takes Pluto about 243 Earth years to orbit the Sun. So not only is it the furthest away, it's also the coldest and takes the longest to orbit the Sun. We have a lot to learn about Pluto and other celestial bodies in our outer reaches of the solar system, but it's not easy to explore this area. For now, this is about the best photo we have of Pluto, and it was taken from 3 billion miles away by a special spacecraft called the Hubble Space Telescope. So far, Pluto remains unexplored. A special probe was launched towards Pluto in the year 2003, but it will not reach the planet until 2015. Now, guys, it's 2021. So that means that if it did reach, it would be there by now. I'm not sure if it ever did reach. I'll have to research that and find out for you guys. But if you don't find, or if you want to look it up, you can look it up too. So you could maybe have your adult help you Google and find if the probe ever reached the planet Pluto. Okay? All right, friends. Now, let's go over our little poem again. Again, I cannot sing a poem to a tune. Oh, I'll have to get our music teacher to help us out, won't I? But if you know the tune, Oh My Darling Clementine, you can sing this to this tune, but I don't, so I'm just going to read it. Do you know the solar system? It's our home in outer space. Planets orbit around the sun while it shines brightly in one place. First is Mercury, small and speedy. Second, Venus, shining bright. Third is Earth, a home for people. Fourth is Mars, a rusty sight. Fifth is Jupiter, big and stormy. Sixth is Saturn with its rings. Seventh, Uranus is tilted. Eighth is Neptune, ocean king. Every planet is unique, but they all orbit round the sun. I know all about the planets, but the Earth's my favorite one. All right, friends, let's go over what we talked about today. Now, let's see. In the read aloud from yesterday, we learned that there are 4 inner planets closest to the sun: Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. But in this read aloud, today's lesson, we learned that Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune are outer planets. What makes them an outer planet? Yeah, they're the farthest away from the sun on an outside border. Okay, so you learned that the inner planets are made of metal and rock. What are all the outer planets made of? Gases. Okay. The 5th planet in our solar system is known for being the largest planet and having a red spot and 63 moons. What is the name of this planet? Jupiter. The 6th planet in the solar system is known for the rings around it. What's the name of this planet? Saturn. Okay, the 7th planet in the solar system is known for being the coldest planet and for rotating on its side. What's the name of that planet? Uranus. And the last question, the 8th or last planet in the solar system is known for being blue. What is the name of that planet? Neptune. Bonus question. Which planet did we categorize as a dwarf planet? Pluto. All right, friends, we're all done. Make sure you go into Google Classroom and please answer your questions. Remember, don't Google your answers and do not say, I don't know. Go back in our video, watch again, or hey, I just did all the questions with you. Hey, no excuses. I'll see you guys later. Bye, little astronauts.